Hello, I'm Vara,
And I'm Roxy.
and you're listening to VCR. Hey, Roxy, how you doing?
Hello, hello. I'm doing good.
How
How are
was your?
you?
I'm doing good, feeling better. How's your day going?
Well, I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I'm glad it's over, and I'm glad that we are about to jump into this really exciting interview. We have a triple threat with us today, a
We
very
do.
talented and lovely actress, model, and singer who is on the show today. And we're gonna even tell you how you can go follow some of her movies and her latest song that is out, Miss Shavon Majoi. How are you doing?
I am doing well. How about you?
So far, so good. How was your day?
Good. My day's been pretty good.
Good, good. So tell us. So, you, like I said, you're this triple threat. You got into modeling, you got into singing, you got into acting. Which one bit you first? Which one was it that you're like, oh my God, I want to explore this?
Right. So, modeling and singing is kind of like neck and neck, but I would say singing was probably first for me. I've been wanting to be a singer since I was 3.
Mhm.
Like my parents will tell you, I used to get up in the bathroom every morning and sing to the top of my lungs. And I don't know if I was that great when I was that young, but I grew into it. And I watched my mom sing, so that also was an influence on me. And then I say modeling too, because like I have been into clothes since I was little. Like I remember when I was 5 and my grandmother took me to Disney World and she wanted me to wear some shorts and I had this long flowy skirt and I had a shirt with my little puff sleeves and I was like, no, this is my outfit. Like, so I've always been like, no, prissy, girly girl, that has literally been me pretty much since birth. So yeah.
So when did you discover acting and like, oh my God, I want to explore acting?
Yeah, so acting came to me through singing. So my very first role was a suicidal singer. I only accepted the role because I got the opportunity to sing. And then I did the play and I was like, I don't know if it's for me. So fast forward to when I was at UHD after I had got my undergrad, they had auditions. I was like, okay, I haven't done a play in some years. Let me just try it out. So I get there and they're like, this is not a traditional play. This is a playwright play. So everyone's going to have to write and act. And I was like, time for me to go. I don't know how to write a play. And they're like, okay. So they had us audition where we told a story, whether real or fictional. So I told a real story about my first and hopefully last unplanned blind date of my life and people thought it was funny. So they chose me along with like 30 other people. And we had like an acting and writing intensive. This guy named Greg Allen flew down from Chicago to UHD and he trained us. So literally, he'd be like, okay, so tomorrow you're going to come in with a 2-minute play written. You're going to get up and perform it and you're going to involve a newspaper. And so every day we were writing and acting Monday through Friday. And so it really grew me and I really fell in love with the craft. And so they chose 3 of my little mini plays to be performed. And the night my mom came, I like bust out crying in the middle of it. And I was like, really, Siobhan? Because I was talking about something I never talked about before, but everybody's like, no, Siobhan, that's the best you ever did it. And so many people were coming up to me afterwards and was like, oh man, I could really relate to that story. Oh, that touched me this way, or this happened to me, which was similar. And so it was after that that I really saw the power of storytelling through acting and I fell in love with it. So after that, I started auditioning and the rest is history.
Awesome. Very nice. And being a fellow Gator, so I'm assuming that was with Tim Klein.
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. It
Yes.
sounded right up his alley. I,
Yes.
I I know he liked doing those little small shorts and really getting
Yes.
involved with the students that way. Well, very cool. Very cool. And then after that, how did you well, let's kind of take it like this. Again, actor, singer, model. Which industry did you try to get into first? Or was it a
Well,
combo?
I would say it was probably a combo of modeling and singing at
Mhm.
first, and then acting kind of took number one over everything. So yeah, like I started doing fashion shows and stuff when I was in high school. And so I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is fun. And so I was able to meet different designers and stuff, like even once I graduated and stuff like that. So I enjoy doing fashion shows and, dressing up because that's my love. Um, and then, yeah, so I sang in high school. I was in like three different choirs. So I was in a Victorian age choir, and I was also in Forte, which was a show choir. So we would dance and sing. And then after that, I started singing in churches.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, and I had the pleasure of, meeting and singing with a lot of different gospel artists at one of the churches I used to sing with. So when Ty Tribbett lived in Houston, I sang background with him for a couple years. So I was able to meet a lot of great people. And then fast forward years later, I was like, I want to start my own music. And I love gospel, but I want to do R&B. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's when I started putting out my own music. So yeah.
Very awesome. Now, you and Roxy know each other from the modeling circuit, right?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Yes. We
So,
definitely have worked with each other on a few fashion shows,
Yeah.
a couple like a
Hmm.
music video.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot about this video. You're so right.
Yeah.
Yes.
what
Yeah.
what music video was it? Do you remember or no?
Can
Okay.
I don't remember. It was a rap video. That's all I remember.
Yes, that's all I remember. And
And I
maybe
remember
you
he
put
was
it
like little
in.
Kiki's cousin or something.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
so. Look, I don't want to say anything wrong, so yeah.
Yeah.
How very cool. So what was your first major production, movie-wise?
Okay. Well, okay, movie wise, I would say like my first role where I was able to really show my range as an actor was when I did the movie Homewrecker, because in that movie I was able to be happy, I was able to be angry, sad, sneaky, crazy, all the above in one movie. So, and that's one thing that I like. I like characters where it's not just, one dimensional, because no one says, "Oh my God, she was just such an amazing good girl." Oh, you
Right.
know,
Good
the
girls
bad
rarely
girl
ever
is
make
always,
history.
yeah, exactly. Okay. So I love the characters where I can be a little wild. So yeah.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I will say I did watch Homewrecker and the first scene I was like, whoa, I was not
Right.
expecting that.
Yes, it
I was like,
definitely
well, all
starts off
right.
like,
Let me
here we
get my
are.
popcorn.
Yes.
So tell us, okay, so you kind of got into the movie a little bit, but so I was kind of going through your music. I really love the video that you have out right now. Uh,
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. I love the way it was shot too. You and the saxophone player, and
Yes.
I really loved it,
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about that production.
Yeah, so saxophone is my favorite instrument. So I told Chris, he's the one who produced the song for me. I was like, okay, look, all I know is we've got to have some saxophone here because it's my favorite instrument. So, the person who shot it, his company is called Braver Films, and he was like, I know this really good saxophone player. And I was like, really? Well, that's perfect. And another thing that I do love to do is dance. Like when I was in high school, I used to dance and I used to step. And so he was like, you need to do a little dancing in this video. So I was like, you're right, that's a great idea. And so yeah, we kind of just came together, and when I was able to meet the saxophone player, we really clicked. Um, and yeah, and so like what the song is, just kind of about, like at that time, because that was back in 2020, we were losing a lot of people, and just it was just showing me how short life is, and so not to rush love, whereas friendships, family, romantic relationships, because you really don't know your last moment with somebody. So take your time, enjoy this moment, and so that's where Don't Rush came from.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I was
I
going to
like
ask you
that.
what inspired that, and so you just kind of
Yeah.
answered it. That's right. So all that was kind of like COVID inspired in a way. Very soulful, but
Right. Yeah. I mean,
there's a
soulful is
deeper
just
meaning.
me. That, yeah, that's just, I guess the kind of the touch that I put on pretty much anything that I sing. But yeah, so that, inspired me. And just, like a lot was happening around that time that even was not even COVID related. Like, I mean, certain people I even went to high school with that are not living. And I'm like, man, like, what? We're still young. I'm still in my 20s, and like I still feel like, we still have so much life ahead of us. And so
Mhm.
I was like, man, we've got to really make sure we appreciate and love on the people and
Mhm.
give them their flowers while we can. So,
Yes.
Oh, that's very true. Very, very true. It's all about taking those moments and enjoying everyone and who you have. That's
Mhm.
always
yeah.
crucial. So what big projects do you have going on now, if anything? Are you working on anything currently?
Right. Yes. So I just wrapped a film called Disloyal. That was a really fun one to shoot because it definitely was like the opposite of me. I had to be a mean mother, so mean. And I was like, dang,
I
I
can
gotta say that. Oh my
picture
gosh,
you
I'm so
mean.
terrible. Huh?
I just can't
Yeah.
picture you mean.
Right, exactly. And so like she's so mean and careless and just the way she talks to her child. And I was just like, oh my God, my feelings are hurt saying this. So that and then they were like, yeah, Siobhan, so can you be a little ghetto? I was like, oh, okay. So for me, I was like, okay. So for me, I have a selective photographic memory. I say selective because I don't remember everything, but certain things I will vividly remember. So like I remember certain girls I went to school with and just how they talked, just things I see. So I was like, I'm gonna use that for my character. So yeah, so Janisha, that was an interesting character to play. My movie Devil's Kiss just came out October 1st. So I was excited. I haven't even watched the whole movie, which is crazy, but I've seen a little part of it. And so I like what I see so far. That was another really fun one because I had to be a gangster. I was like, me, a gangster? And like I told the director, I was like, you gotta have to send me some of these bloopers because the natural girly Siobhan, it was the scene where where I was carrying this bag full of giant guns and I had it like on my arm like this, like it was a purse. And they're like, Siobhan, you're a gangster. You're not supposed to carry guns like that. I was like, oh, that's right. I gotta put it on my shoulder. So yeah,
You're
definitely
walking through like this.
right. Yes. So it definitely that's one of the things I love about acting though. It challenges me to step outside of myself to, see life through the lens of someone else. So there's another movie that I'm going to start shooting in November. We're already starting to do our table reads and stuff like that now. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to be dope working with another Houston director that Kenny Summers. I've never worked with him before, but I love being able to work with new people. So I'm looking forward to that one. This character is she's entitled, she's very materialistic, and she's not the most like she's not mean, but like I said, she cares about money and materials just about more than anything. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay, very
whatever she got to
interesting.
do, whoever she got to step on and get what she wants, that's what she's doing.
I know a couple of
Mm.
those people.
Right, exactly, right. It's not, too far to see what that looks like. So I'm like,
Right.
okay. So yeah, that is my next one. Other than that, I am auditioning. There's this role that I'm like, fingers crossed. I really, really hope that I get. So we shall see. Hopefully it works out. So yeah.
Yeah. I hope you get it.
Thank you. Me too.
Whatever it is, I hope you get it.
Right, yes. If so, I will be in Atlanta for about a month. So
Ooh,
yeah.
shooting, right? Nice.
Right.
Oh, very cool. So you're gonna head out to Atlanta for that. That's awesome.
Yes.
God
So
willing.
absolutely.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So with, auditioning for acting and modeling and singing type gigs, let me ask you this, because I'm sure our audience would love to hear it. And my dog is barking at me to ask the question here. So, out of curiosity, which industry or which field, I should say, has been one of the more difficult ones to kind of break into? Because, like, I know there's a lot of inspiring actors and singers and models out there, and I'm sure some of them have an idea of how to do it or have no idea how to do it. Which
Right.
one, in your opinion, has been one of the most difficult and why?
Okay. So I guess they all have their difficulties, I would
Mhm.
say. But then again, like I cannot say that I've put the equal amount of effort into each one. So I would say I've put the most of my time and effort into acting.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so it's, I'm not gonna say that it's necessarily easy, but I will say with acting, you have to really want it. If you don't really want it, you're not gonna last. It's, gonna chew you up and kind of spit you out because, these days everything is kind of about money and,
Mhm.
money. That's really what it boils down to. So if you have a big social media following, there are certain directors that will put you in a lead character with no experience. They're not going to give you much direction. They're just going to be like, here's the lines. Go ahead. We
Hmm.
want you because you're going to make us have a sold out premiere. You're going
Mhm.
to bring us more views. So cool, and so you have that. And then you have the directors that, okay, they like it when you have a big following, but they are really, really concerned about, your acting. And so kind of navigating through that. Um, I have been independent, with I don't know how many movies I've done, but it's been plenty. Like I know I've done at least 30 movies, even though there's only 19 that are currently streaming, but
Mhm.
there's plenty more that are coming out, and some of them may not, land on the different platforms. So I don't know. I guess the challenge is really getting consistent, good paying work. And, I had to learn how to, embrace rejection. And
Mhm.
so I feel that if that's something that you should do, if the something that you can do, then acting is probably not for you because you get way more
Mm.
no's than you do yeses. Like, and I get people like, oh, Shavon, you're filming all the time. Like, whatever you do, you're just gonna argue yes. I'm like, do you know how many no's I have? Like, what? So many things that, or even when you're like, okay, I know I killed this one, I should, but it's like there's so many of you. There are so many people
Mm-hmm.
that want those same roles that we want. And when you get a no, it's not that you are bad or didn't do a good job. You just may not be the vision for what they were looking for with that character. So I have just learned to embrace that what is for me is for me. It does not
Mm-hmm.
matter if, you know, 10 other people are in the role before me. If it's meant for me, I'm going to get the role. For example, the movie H Town, you know, I went when I first saw the auditions, I was like, that is for me. Like actress and singer to be able to do both in a movie,
Mhm.
absolutely. Hello. Like
Right.
that's me. I want to do it. I was so interested in the role and you know, I was not the first choice. I wasn't the second choice. I was not even the third choice for the role. But the role ended up coming to me. And so, even though there were other people that, like I said, for their following and for, different things, like I'm trying to do better about promoting myself and posting on social media. I'm not really an influencer. That's not really my
Yeah, I'm
thing.
bad at that too.
Right, like I have to be like, Siobhan, you have all these pictures and videos. Why aren't you posting? So I have to work at that. But other people are really, really good at that. But like I said, the project was meant for me. So I was able to walk through that door, even though, like I said, I know that I was not who they wanted. But at the end of the day, it worked out for me. So with anything, I'm like, I also don't even look at auditioning as I'm auditioning for a project anymore. I look at it as this is an opportunity for me to practice and perfect my craft. So this
Mm-hmm.
is a part of my job as an actress. I have to audition, and the things that are for me, the door's going to open.
Absolutely. And I like what you said there about, being able to take no's and everything. I think that's a lot of things that some
Hmm.
inspiring actors don't really think about is that
Yes.
there are a barrage of no's that come at you because like I did theater for 20 years, whether I
Yeah.
was on stage or backstage, and the no's for whatever reason, you're not quite the part, you may not be strong enough to do this character, you know, it happens, and you have to be able to
Yes.
take that. And then also sometimes I think it's kind of nice too when you get the reverse, when you have to tell them no because
Yes.
they think you're good for the part, but you're like, no, no, I can't.
Right. Oh yeah. I definitely
Yeah.
have to say no because sometimes like I'll
Yeah.
read a script and I'm like, nah, won't be doing this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've become, I feel like it's a privilege to be able to become more selective. And so I've
Mhm.
definitely become a lot more selective when it comes to projects. And then, also like just doing research on the people that you're going to be working with because every
Hmm.
opportunity, even if it has a nice dollar sign, is not a good opportunity.
That's true.
No, no, it
So,
isn't.
yeah, just being confident in that, knowing that no is a complete sentence. And, if you don't have a piece about something, if something doesn't feel right, there's a reason for that. So trust
Right.
your gut. So yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a time I'll never forget it because I had always loved the story. I love murder mysteries, especially love Agatha Christie murder
Yeah.
mysteries. And I was offered the lead for Hercule Poirot. And
Mm.
because mostly because like I looked the part, but I was like,
Right.
I'm not a strong enough actor to carry his stuff because his his monologues are biblical. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm not that good. I'm not gonna sit there and memorize all that.
Right.
You'll be lucky if you get half of that from me. So you can put me in a smaller role, but I can't do like a role like that. So,
Right.
it is nice to be able to say, hey, I can or I can't type of situation.
Yeah.
Um,
That's amazing. Because,
yeah,
like, I used to think that, like, I would always want a lead role. When I first started, I thought, man, it'll be so cool, before I had ever had one. But, like, I look back now and I'm like, nowadays, sometimes I'd be like, okay, I know you're offering me this lead role, but can I have a smaller one? I like this part better. So, yeah.
Definitely. Where did he go?
absolutely.
Right.
Didn't go anywhere too far. Just had to get the dog to stop barking all the time. I was like, sometimes dogs like to remind us, and they're part of the show too.
Right.
But I know Roxy's dogs also jump into the show every now and then. They're
We
too
do.
cute.
Mhm.
Are you a pet person by any chance?
I am so okay, I am, but I'm not.
Mhm.
So I was never like an animal person,
Mhm.
honestly, but I absolutely so there's this cat, and unfortunately he died earlier this
Oh,
year, but he was in my family's life for like 19 years. So he has
wow.
a pretty long life, but he just literally adopted us. Like he literally showed up on our doorstep. Okay. He would kill little bugs, and that's when we became friends. I was like, hold on, you looking out for me? We're good, okay. And so for us, he was like the perfect gentleman. Like he when I would, get back, he would walk me to the door, even if he was gonna still stay outside, like the sweetest cat ever. And so like he made me fall in love with animals. And then my boyfriend's family has a dog named Fancy, and I'm like, that's my baby. So like people be like, oh, do you have kids? Before Fluff passed away, I'd be like, oh yes, I have a girl and a boy, Fluff and Fancy. So so yeah, so
That's
now
definitely
especially
how I answer too with my two.
right.
I have
Yes.
two.
Yes, those are my babies. So now I'm like, okay, I see why people love pets because they're just amazing. They change your life. So
They
yes.
really do.
They really do. They change it for the better, and
Yes.
they still drive you nuts every now and then, but they
Right,
change it for the
exactly.
better. So, question, you brought up, relationships. So, let's ask this. When you're doing things like modeling, acting, singing, um, have you ever had that like interfere or affect any relationships, whether it's recent or in the past? Has
Oh,
that been a
absolutely. Yes. So my recent song, Control Me, is about my relationship with my ex. So I dealt with insecurity.
Mhm.
Um, I dealt with wanting to control. It was one time he was like, okay, acting or me. And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm choosing acting. I was acting before you and I will be acting after you. Like, what? But like, I mean, hey, I was with him for 5.5 years. So it was some
Mhm.
time that I dealt with it trying to make things work. And there was a lot of roles that I was like, I'm not even gonna go for this because he's gonna trip. Or, should I even go to this event? Should I, and so like I shrunk myself trying to make things work. And I was not, fully being myself, fully showing up, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe I sang at this event and maybe he didn't like how this person looked at me, or it could have been the smallest thing,
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I definitely dealt with that. So I will say it is so important to have someone who truly supports you, who trusts you, who sees you, all of that, because then you can be free to create and really, enjoy your love and your passion. So I am so grateful to have the relationship that I have now because I'm like, wow, like I'm free. I don't have to be like, oh God, because I mean, it would be, I'm telling you, like, even when I wasn't even with my ex anymore, he would literally be like, oh, so you and so and so. And he would be literally looking at a picture of me that someone else posted. So I'm like, you're stalking other people's pages, trying to see what I'm doing. Like, oh no, he was hugging you a little too tight. Why does
Mm-hmm.
people always have to put their arm around you? Why can't they just stand there? And I, I don't know, but not everybody's trying to give it to me. A lot of it is just friendly, whatever. But yeah, so it is so important to choose wisely because a lot of people they say, "Oh yeah, I can handle being with an actress. I can handle being with a singer or model, any type of entertainment where you are getting the attention more than them." Not everybody can handle that. So I would say choose wisely.
And I think it's an
Definitely.
important question to ask because I think, people talk about acting and singing and modeling and they're like, oh my God, they think of all the good and the glitz that goes with it. But no one really understands, like, there's a total other side to it that people don't talk about. And I know, like,
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
when I was doing my theater career, it's a difficult life to have a relationship in because, like,
Mhm.
my day, I don't know if it was similar to yours, but my day would be like, because and the sad thing is like in Texas there are no real unions to protect you. So,
Right.
you still have to work that 8 to 5. And
Hmm.
so you're working the 8 to 5 and then after your 8 to 5 you might be on stage from 7 till 11. So
Yep.
really you don't have what I call normal relationships. You have theater
Yeah.
relationships. And we all know how theater relationships go. And
Yeah. The quality time is definitely
yeah,
much different, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And then just, are you sure you're still in rehearsal? Yes. Would you
Oh
like to
my
come
God,
show
yes.
up?
Yeah, that
I'm
one was
still
always a
here.
nightmare. It was like,
So,
are you really doing theater? I was like, no, come see. But
yes.
it was always something like that, because
Hmm.
it does take up a lot of time, and I think
It
that's
does.
something that's kind of important for people who are thinking about going into this industry.
Mm-hmm.
That that's something that you have to be prepared for if
Yes.
you're in a relationship or you're in the industry and you're going to get into a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Definitely something to think about.
It is definitely something to think about. So with that, before we end up closing out, let's ask you this because you're established, you're growing, you're getting bigger. So here's the thing. For newcomers who want to try to break into the industry, what's a solid piece of advice that you think you could give them?
Become a student of the craft. If you want it, go get it. Get the best training you can. Do research on any person that you are going to work with and start in theater. If you want to be an actress, start in theater. That is the best foundation. Doing plays is literally the equivalent of some of the best acting classes, if you ask me.
Hmm.
It really
Mm-hmm.
prepares you, it helps you really have to know the storyline because you have to build relationships on stage. You might have to be able to catch one of your, you know, co-performers that might go blank or something. So it is the best absolute foundation. Again, no is a complete sentence. Don't do anything you're not uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, and
Definitely don't do anything you're not uncomfortable with. Yeah,
yeah,
that happens a lot. Don't do anything you're not
it
comfortable
does.
with. Yeah. There's a reason they call them casting couches.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, and it's always amazing how like when you're starting off in theater, some of those things, just the lifelong lessons you remember. I remember there is this one phrase that I had this really wonderful director. His name was Dr. Little, and he would always say, "Where does where does your acting begin?" And you'd get thrown off because you don't know the answer, and he would say, "Where your feet are, from the feet up, because all of you is acting, not just part of you is acting. It's in the way you
Mhm.
move, it's in the way you stand." So those are things that, I just always
Yeah.
remembered, and it kind of ingrains in you. So that is very awesome. Now, I do want to say this. You can find Shavon's music on YouTube. You can also find her movies on Tubi. That's where I kind of found some of her movies. She has a great selection on there, including Homewrecker, Devil's Kiss. I want to say there's one on there, H-Town, and Sin, right? Was it Sin? I believe it was Sin. I'm going off of my. Actually, you know what? Why don't I just pull it up instead of going on my feeble memory here. You have Playing with Fire, Devil's Kiss, The Private Secretary, Southern Soul Sunday, H-Town. Yeah, I was right. The Sin, Homewrecker, Mr. Franklin on Tubi. That you can definitely go check that out. And you can follow her on her social medias, which are, what are your social medias?
Yes. So I am Shavon Majoi on pretty much everything. So Shavon is ShavonMajoi. I'm probably the most active on Instagram and Facebook. I got to do better with TikTok, but I'm on there too. So
Okay. Do you have the X or the Twitter?
I don't. I need to create that. I do.
Okay. You probably don't have to with the way that's going.
Right. I'm like, I might need to, but I just never made one. So
Yeah, I'm resistant to certain social medias too. Like Roxy keeps saying we need to do TikTok. I was like, do we really?
right.
Like we're on
Yeah.
everything else. Do we really have to do
Do we
one?
have to?
Well, wonderful. And thank you so much for being part of the show. Definitely follow her and check out her movies. And if you want, you can follow our show at the VCR Show on Insta and Twitter. And you can check us out on our YouTube channel, The VCR Show, and go to our never updated website, thevcrshow.com. And you can always email us questions to thevcrshow@gmail.com. And if you want to follow Miss Roxy, you can do so at her social medias, which are.
On Facebook at Roxy Perez Curvy Model, on Instagram at PopRox428, and on TikTok at the PopRox. And PopRox is spelled POPROXX.
And as always, I'm Vara.
And I'm Roxy.
And you've been listening to VCR.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You have been listening to VCR, creative content by Richard Christopher Vara and Roxy Perez. Logo by Richard Christopher Vara with assistance from Annie Ramirez. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us at thevcrshow@gmail.com or our social medias at Instagram and Twitter at The VCR Show. And you can also check out our content at thevcrshow.com. The show song is Addict by Nefex, instrumental, and you can find them on YouTube Music Library.